So you want to learn how to take your photos from this to this, or from this to this. This video is going to be teaching you exactly how to do that. For the sake of this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do it step by step in Adobe Lightroom. So all these pictures were edited using my Lightroom presets, which are actually now available. So if you want to go check those out, it's going to be a one-click method to make your pictures look like this. So let's hop on the computer and let's take a look. And we have this picture loaded up, which we're going to be making look like a film style picture. So as you can see, this picture is a very simple picture just of a traffic light, and we're going to bring it to life in the edit. So the first thing that I usually do when I'm editing my pictures is I like to bring the contrast down. Film usually has a lower contrast, more muted look to it. So we're going to take the contrast down quite a bit. We could always raise it up later after the edits. We're also going to bring the highlights slightly down, and we're going to boost the shadows. Now, this will bring back some of the information that was in these darker areas of the film, as well as film pictures usually have a little bit of an S-curve with the highlights and shadows, which we're going to be doing later. I like to bring the whites up a little bit just to add a little bit of brightness into the picture. And same thing with the blacks, kind of going along with those shadows. We want to bring them up slightly. And it's looking a little too faded right now, so I'm going to bring a little bit of contrast back. Now for the tone curve, let's place our points in the midtones, highlights, and shadows. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to be giving it kind of that S curve. Film pictures usually have this type of curve to them, so we're going to be emulating that in this picture. First thing I like to do, I like to bring the ends, the black slightly higher, so as you can see, that gives it a little bit more of a faded look. Same thing with the whites, we're going to bring those down, bringing that faded look. And then for the shadows, we're going to be bringing those down, kind of adding contrast into the picture. And the highlights, we're going to be raising slightly. The midtones, I typically kind of leave it as is or adjust based on the picture itself. So as of right now, I think right there looks good. And the good thing with all these is that as you edit, you can go back, change stuff around. All right, now in the color section is where we really bring this photo to life and make it look like film. So in my kind of perspective, the film pictures and the style, the retro style that I like to go for, the temperature is usually more on the yellow side. So we're gonna slightly shift the temperature, warmer. Remember, less is more here. You don't want to be doing too much. And for tint, I like to give it a little bit of a green tint. It kind of makes it look more nostalgic. It makes it look a little bit more retro, kind of like you pulled an album out of like an old cupboard and it's like a faded greenish yellow picture. So I like to put a little bit of green into the tint. Now again, with vibrance and saturation, I kind of go as I feel fit for the picture. So for this one, I kind of want to bring that yellow out. I want to make it stand out from the blue. I'm going to bring the vibrance up a little bit. Saturation we can make slightly lower. So for the color mixer, again, this is a very situational section where it basically can look however you want it to look and give it whatever vibe you're going for. We're going to be going into the color grading in a second here, so just wait on that where you really start to see it look like film. But for the color mixer, for example here, we see a lot of blue, we see some yellow, so we're going to adjust those tones slightly. And as you can see, like the before and after, before we even got into color grading, is quite drastic. It makes it really look like that faded vintage style picture, but we are nowhere close to being done. Just wait on it. Now for the greens, I like to give them a little bit of a yellowish tint to them, kind of going back along with that nostalgic yellowish green tones. And for the yellows, we actually make them slightly on the greener side. Now for the sky, I kind of want to make it slightly more saturated, bringing that blue out of it. As you can see here, I like that color contrast between the yellow and the blue, and we're gonna slightly make it a little bit more to that teal side. And again, see that before and after, like it's looking much more retro inspired. Now let's get to the fun part, in my opinion, which is the color grading section. So what I usually like to do is I like to inject a small amount of yellowish green / orange into the highlights and into the shadows. You don't have to do this a lot, but I'm gonna show you how nice it looks. Again, doesn't have to be a lot. As you can see, that's affecting this part of the image, the shadows, and the same thing we'll do in the highlights. But now, see that little change? That it's very subtle, but it kind of brings it to life. That's without the color grading, that's with the color grading. We can adjust the balance on it, And I want to make it slightly more dramatic. So look at that. See how it kind of gives it that very old school feel to it? And now when we go into effects, this is another big thing about film pictures. They don't have that super sharp feel that digital pictures do. So to do that, we're gonna bring down the clarity. As you can see, it kind of just like blooms things out a little bit. It's very hard to explain, but we bring down the clarity quite a bit. Texture, I don't really play around with too much. Just dehaze it slightly. It's looking a little bit saturated for my style, so we can go back into here, reduce the vibrance just slightly, reduce the saturation, and look at that before and after. That is looking very film-esque to me. But now my favorite thing, you know it couldn't be a film picture without grain. We're gonna add a lot of grain to this picture. And that really gives it that old school retro style feel. Lots of grain. And just look at that before and after. That looks like it was taken on a film camera. And you know what? It doesn't even have to look like it's taken exactly on a film camera, but just giving that retro, old school inspired look to it. I think that this picture and this edit is capturing that perfectly. All right, so if you thought what we went over was a lot and you just want to make the process very simple, don't worry, I got you. So I got another picture loaded up on here. It's a very, very basic picture that I took just at a restaurant. And I want to show you my own Lightroom presets that are designed to emulate film and give your pictures a very retro, old school, vintage style look in just one click. And I'm going to show you how powerful they are with just this picture. So I call them Arian's Universal Film Presets. There's 3 of them, and my favorite one is 2.5, and you're gonna see why. Just with one click, look at that. We bring the exposure up slightly, we bring the shadows up, and with just one click, it's already giving it such a nice vintage retro style to it. And just like literally in like a couple seconds, look at that picture just come to life. This film preset pack is available for $4.99, so literally the price of a coffee, and they work on raw pictures shot out with a mirrorless camera. They work on iPhone pictures shot in RAW on the iPhone. They even work on JPEGs, to be honest. I've used them quite a bit. This is literally the easiest way to make your film pictures look like film. Shameless plug, I'm gonna plug myself. They're gonna be in the description below. So check it out, show some support. Again, look at that before and after with like one click. Anyways, folks, that brings me to the end of this video. That is a step-by-step process on how to make your pictures look like film, to give them that old school, retro, vintage style look to them. If you found this video helpful, make sure you click subscribe and you hit that like button. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time in the next video.